Welcome to the Grandstand Golf podcast. This is our preview, picks, and bold predictions episode for the 2021 PGA Championship at Kiawah Island. I am your host, Adam Babty, and as always, I'm joined by my brothers, Craig.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I've had to revise my predictions. At first, I felt like they weren't quite bold enough, so, really got bold.
Good. I want them to be bold. And we're joined by Kevin as always as well. Kevin, what's going on?
Not too much. I'm excited to have the winning slate here this week. It's been a little while, but I'm feeling good about this.
A lot of confidence. So we are recording this on Thursday night, May 13th, a week before the PGA Championship. So this is going to be just like our Masters picks and preview show. This is going to be our pencil picks for the PGA. So, if things change through the AT&T Byron Nelson, if Spieth went out there on Thursday and was pretty hot. If one of you guys want to change to Spieth after he wins on Sunday, totally understandable. These are our pencil picks. Our final picks will be up on our Twitter at Grandstand Golf, so make sure to follow us there. We'll also be answering pressing questions for the PGA Championship, and as Craig said, making those bold predictions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't actually use Jordan Spieth as a one and done because I used him that other week where he won, so I'm feeling pretty okay about that.
Wow, humble brag. And the one and done leader gets his shot in early. Okay, let's just jump right into it. Pick to win, Craig. You're the leader right now. Why don't you start us off? What's your pick to win? We're talking 2021 PGA Championship pick to win.
So are we going pick to win, one and done, lumping it all together here?
If they're the same, let's hear it.
Okay, so for me, it is the same. Okay. I am, probably doing as you guys would predict I would do. I'm going Rory McIlroy. I've been holding off on it. I saw the form I wanted to see. We're going to a place he's won before. Whatever narrative you need. He just won 3 times at Quail Hollow. First time he's ever done that. He's got 2 PGA championships, so he's going to get his back-to-back triple. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a whole lot of things to like about Rory McIlroy this week. I like all of them. I'm pushing the stack in on Rory.
It's kind of the obvious pick. It's
no
funny
surprise.
You won with Jordan Spieth the week before the Masters. Rory also won the week before this, or I guess his event before. So do you feel like he used up all his good mojo, or you're not worried about that?
I'm honestly, and the numbers don't really bear out. If you look at his stats, you look at his strokes gained, all the things. It's a gut play. It's a last time we saw Rory in a little bit of a slump. It wasn't even as bad as the slump he's just come out of now. But last time he came out of a slump, he went on an absolute tear. So yep. He's working with a new swing coach, Pete Cowan. There's all kinds of things that he's talked about he's doing with Pete Cowan. I think his game is going to turn around, and I think it has turned around, and I think we're going to potentially see a little stint of dominant Rory golf for a while. So it's a course that should favor long hitters. I think he's the best long hitter in the game. So yeah.
I like it. So just so the viewers know, I already used Rory back in the November Masters. He got me a T5. I was pretty happy with that, about 400,000. Kevin still has not. Is that right?
Still have him in my pocket.
I'm curious to know where Kevin's going because it could make my bold Rory play as the 10-1 favorite here a little less bold.
So am I number 2 in the one and done? Should I go next year?
I think you are, yeah.
You are right now, but we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, let's see what happens this week. Zalatoris is not looking good for me right now, so I could get a bit bumped off. But, okay, my pick to win is also the same as my one and done. I am going Dustin Johnson.
Oh.
Yeah, finally using the world number 1. He's still world number 1. I know he's in a little bit of a slump. He did play this tournament in 2012. He finished +5. In T48, but he had more birdies than the second place finisher, David Lynn. So he got his scoring opportunities. He has made a ton of bogeys, lots of doubles, some triples. He got a lot of big numbers in there. Finished T48. So now, I like that.
Are you worried at all about didn't he withdraw recently?
He withdrew this week, yeah. And that's why it's pencil and paper. If he happens to run into some stairs and falls down stairs like I know he has before, I'm probably gonna pull that and get someone else. But yeah, he's a little bit in a slump. He has his last 6 events. He has no top 10s. He missed the cut at the Masters. He withdrew this past week, but I like it. So the other thing is, I'm drawing a comparison to Bear Club in Jupiter, Florida. Rory's a member. Keegan Bradley's a member. Dustin Johnson's a member. It's played on past Palom grass, which Kiawah.
So I was gonna say, why are you drawing the comparison?
So
there?
it's played on past Palom grass, which not a lot of these tournaments around the PGA Tour, European Tour are. It's a coastal grass. It's a straight up grass. I'm going to talk a little about it a little bit further, but it's the exact same grass that we don't see a lot, and that's his home course. It's the same home course as Rory, Shane Lowry, Keegan Bradley. Rory and Keegan were, 1 and T3 here last time it was played. So I think having a little bit of extra practice on that past Palom could do favors for Dustin Johnson. Plus South Carolina, there's a narrative there.
I do like the South Carolina narrative. I do have to say though, it sounds like a lot of the reasons you're saying that you like Dustin Johnson is basically because he's kind of like Rory McIlroy, he had the more birdies than the guy that came second. How many birdies did Rory have though? Won, the year that he won by 8. I do think it's a bold stance. I think Kevin's used DJ in the one and done, but I have DJ in my pocket still, and I have been monitoring the form, waiting for the chance to pull the trigger. So as someone who has been following it, I do think it's a bold one.
The other thing too is with these elite golfers, I think we know that they're never that far off. We saw it with DJ with his 80 and then he came on a tear. We saw it with Rory's in a slump. And then he wins. These guys are never that far off. I don't think DJ's that far off. He's had a couple negative rounds, a couple really poor rounds, really. But he's still fine and he can pop at any time.
And last time he did turn it around in a hurry, but it's a risky one. It's a bold one.
All right.
It is risky. I feel a little bit like you have a square narrative there that you're trying to hammer through a round hole, but that it may just work for you. I do like your last point. I don't think these guys are ever far off. When they're in their slumps, these elite players, they're one tournament away from it being a slump buster. So as Craig mentioned, I have already used up Dustin. I have not used Rory, and I will this week. Rory is my pick to win and my one and done pick. I had a feeling you gotta love the course history. I think that without the win at Wells Fargo, maybe he wouldn't be my pick, but I think that's a huge confidence boost for him. Even to just trust his swing changes tweaks whatever he's doing with his new instructor. He definitely, once he gets going, is a guy that is super streaky and can be just like tear the tour up for a few months. So I'm hoping that Craig and I are catching him early here. I also intend to win the one and done this week with Scotty Scheffler. So I intend to have closed the gap on Craig going into next week, that will make it kind of a match.
That's a smart move, actually. It's a good strategy.
Yeah. So, Rory, I think.
So I guess we're both on Rory. I seriously considered someone else. How close were you to? Because mainly one of the reasons I was considering someone else was because I thought it was fairly likely that you would go with Rory, and I was like, do I want to, do I want to kind of have him cover my Rory take?
Yeah, it was hard to get off of Rory. After the win, it was hard to get off of him. I did consider some other players, but I feel like even if Rory doesn't win, which I'm obviously picking him to win, but with the one and done play, I feel like he's a strong bet to have a top 10 here.
So do you want to give me who was your runner-up consideration or no?
No, I'm not.
I'll give you mine right now. So I seriously considered Xander. I think that it is a course that
really,
Xander, yeah. I think Xander, he was in really hot form and he has cooled off a bit. I don't think he's far off either. I just, you need to be long. He's got all the tools. I really like Xander all the time. And I just felt like, it was a good potential chance to pull the trigger on Xander when I thought no one else would.
There's a few guys that kind of piqued my interest. But for these majors, I really think, with our one and done, you almost have to go with a top tier
big
guy.
dog.
That
Well, and the other
big
thing,
dog.
I don't have Rom left. That I definitely would have thought about him as well.
That's the only other thing. I almost came in here with a Rom to win and a Dustin Johnson one and done, but I'm like, that's silly. Like, they're so close anyways. Why don't I just make DJ both? But Rom and DJ to me are very, very close. Rory is up there, I guess, too.
Yeah.
One
Well,
B
I mean, the
or
thing
one
is,
C.
I think it's fairly easy to make the narrative that Rory, we saw a single week from him after,
Yeah, of course there is.
8
On a
months
course that he loves.
Of middle. No, I mean, it's easy to make the other narrative that it was just a single week. Oh, you're saying at Quail Hollow as a course that he loves. Yeah, I gotcha. That it's not necessarily indicating that his form is back. It's just he went to one of the places he's had more success than anyone, and he had a decent week.
And his putter was super hot.
There's people who don't need to have everything clicking to win, and Rory is one of those people.
Right. So, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but one of the things that, because we'll talk about the course in more detail, but I think that this course is absolutely going to demand ball striking perfection, or as close to it as these guys can come. You're not going to get away with anything out there. So these elite guys, they have the entire package, but some of the guys that kind of piqued my interest are guys that are known for their ball striking that I think are going to do well here. It's just, when you drop down kind of a tier below those top 3, top 5 guys, it's a little bit more of a question mark. Are they going to be able to show up that week? Are they, is everything going to click for them? Everything else going to click for them? So it just feels, maybe doesn't go with the bold prediction thing, but it feels a little safer to stick with some of those guys that even if they're a little off, they're still elite.
But that was also my other consideration for potentially leaving, like holding on to Rory, was that okay, so if he is not necessarily back, I think that with 4 months in front of us still, I think that there's a decent chance that he'll be back at one of these other majors we have, So that was my other consideration. But
yeah, it's interesting that Kevin still has Bryson in his pocket, I believe, looking quickly through the list. And we're playing the longest course on major championship history. So interesting.
It's true. It is interesting. Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to some sleepers?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Who's going first this time?
Guys, 50-1 or greater odds to win. That's kind of our criteria
50.
for a sleeper.
Oh, well,
I know. I'm not even touching that. I'm not even getting close to that. I think we know someone who is. So, Craig, why don't you kick us off here?
I think I've got the shortest odds guy. Shortest odds guy here. I'm going with Joaquin Niemann. I think that, the guy's a stud, first off. Everyone knows that. I think you guys might rip on me a bit because you think he's not long enough of as far enough away from being a stud to be a sleeper. But his ball striking is elite. He gains over a stroke on approach, combined approach and off the tee. He's long, which this course obviously is going to demand. He hits it right to left, which I've heard that's a good thing here. I think that Niemann's a classic good wind player, which I think we might get into. That might be another important thing here. So the thing that ultimately, as someone who has the chance in a major championship field with all of the best players in the world, his ball striking is good enough. He's streaky enough with his putting around the green game that he could win. He could, there's realistic paths to him winning or top fiving. Whereas, some other people that may be around the same place, they're a little steadier. They might have better chances of not blowing up, but Niemann has that streakiness that could give him a chance to win.
Yeah. So my question, I agree. I love Niemann. I'm a fan of Niemann. He's really young. That's my thing here. And I think we kind of talked about it at some previous shows for the PGA. I think you got to be a little bit battle tested, has some scars, some scar tissue a little bit. And his major results are kind of interesting. Do you know that his best result off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, it's a tied for 23rd at the US Open. Well, off the top of my head, when I have his wiki page open.
It seems like you're on the same Wikipedia page that I am. But he's got 5 missed cuts, 3 made cuts. His best result is a T23 at the 2020 US Open. So I think he needs to get a little bit major experience. But
he's also 22 years old.
Totally.
He's been playing in majors
100%.
Since he was 17, 18.
Yeah.
He's been playing them for a while. His best, it was US Open in the fall. His next best was the Masters just now. His best players was this year. His best World Golf Championships were all this year.
Sure.
So like, it's hard to look too far back, but I definitely agree. He does not have the major history to think that he's going to go out there and necessarily get it done.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, who's your sleeper?
Well, I mean, I'm ready for I'm ready for anything you have to say about this pick, and I expect to hear some stuff. But it's my guy Max Homa.
Oh,
Max Homa is sitting at 80-1. He's a great ball striker, which, as I was saying before, I think you need that here. He's long off the tee, long enough. He's been playing very solid golf this year. He plays good on hard courses. He's been trying to take his game to the next level lately, with an emphasis on playing well in the big tournaments and in the majors. He hasn't had a lot of success in majors yet, but he hasn't played in a ton of them. And to cap it all off, he's got bones on the bag next week.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
That's the extra little.
You need a narrative. That's the narrative.
The extra little tidbit there. A win might be a bit of a stretch.
Rumor
for him.
has it Phil never won any majors except when he had bones on the bag. So
Rumor has it. Rumor has it. So yeah, like where was it? Phil? Was it Bones? I mean,
who's to say?
Who's to say? So again, a win would be, obviously I would be stoked as a Max Homa fan. That would be amazing. But I do see a strong finish as somebody who's priced at 80-1. I think that you know we were talking before we came on about price ranges, and when you get up to 80-1, you're see. I was looking for real sleepers, Craig. And it's hard to see a guy that you necessarily think is going to be able to take it down. But I think of those guys, Max Homa has as good a chance as anyone. He's proven
you think there's
can
legit win equity there?
Yeah, he does, and I think I see him having a strong tournament. So Max Homa's my guy.
Yeah. Does the Wells Fargo concern you at all?
You know what? I think there's a lot of distractions that week, being the defending champ. I think he got off to a brutal start there in his first 6 holes, and he didn't play terrible after that on a hard golf course. So
yeah.
Obviously it's not like what you like to see, but it doesn't really concern me too much.
Yeah,
Wait,
it looks like he's still... Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
you guys both picked Max Homa in your one and done last week, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then this week, you're both playing Rory at the course that this is not shaping up well for you guys. I feel like there's a jinx going on here, defending at the course. Maybe that's not a narrative. I don't know.
I thought about that, Adam. I definitely thought about that. It crossed my
I did
mind.
not think about that.
I've been picking some defending champions, and it hasn't worked out well for me in the one and done. But this isn't really a defending champion situation. It is course, but I have reason to believe that the course history might not be as big of an influence as we think it is. It's nice to be familiar with the course, but
to me, it's more course fit, and the length, I think, is the thing that really leans me towards Rory. But just real quick on Max Homa, I think one of the things so first off, last week at the Wells Fargo, he lost everywhere except approach. So his approach, he has been very good for months now. That's, on this hot streak that he's been on, that has been one of the pillars. The thing that I like, though, about him as a sleeper pick is that he is one of these guys that he can gain in all facets. So he's not, there's a lot of guys that say they're more the Keegan Bradley model where, they're very good tee to green, and then they need to have that once every 6 months putting week. Homa can gain in all the places, and so I think it makes it much more. He just needs to kind of have his full skill set on display.
Yeah. And for him to win, he does need to have like anybody.
But anyone
really,
does.
Yeah, anyone needs to have a good putting week to win on the PGA Tour.
But
you don't have a average to bad putting week and win.
Yeah, no. But there's some people you're like, okay, they've got the driver, they've got the putter. You could be like, okay, it's a long course, but it's hard to see in a major championship. You kind of need to be one of these people who can bring all the tools to the course.
Yeah,
I agree.
The only tangent I was going to go on, and I think I'll leave it alone, but I'll say it and then I'll leave it. Because you're talking about defending and the pressure of that. Colin Morikawa is defending. But do you think there's going to be any player out there that has more media attention around him than Rory McIlroy?
Yes.
Jordan Spieth?
No, another guy. I'll get to him in a minute.
All right. My sleeper. Now we're talking real sleepers, guys. Let's talk about some real sleepers. My sleepers. I don't think this is going to surprise anybody. Maybe. Thomas Pieters. 150 to 1.
I like it. I like it.
They're laying 150 to 1 on Thomas Pieters. It is straight robbery. I actually got this number back in January, but there's no reason to differ from it now. I'm sticking with Thomas
It's the same
Pieters.
now, so.
It's the same now, and I'm just more confident.
The books have also felt no reason to change it.
The books are staying put. He is coming in, so he's playing in the Byron Nelson. So that's one asterisk. We don't know exactly how it's gonna play out. He is coming off 4 straight top 15s: Saudi, Puerto Rico, Qatar, Mayakoba. Like, really weird. He's got 2 European Tour starts, 2 PGA, but they're kind of off. Like, it's weird. But then I started to piece it together. Is he just playing this really long game of getting built up for Kiawah Ocean Course? He's playing these coastal courses with past Palom, and he's getting used to this. He's playing the long game to finally get his major championship win. It's brilliant.
If he is doing that, that is a next level move. I think he's just trying to qualify for the Ryder Cup team personally, but
There might be that as well, but
Not only would that be a next level move, that would be some next level analysis by you there, Adam.
Yeah.
If that's his game, props to you for seeing that.
I am sorry for everybody listening how often I'm going to say past Palom this episode, but it's coming up a lot. I'm just warning you, we're not even halfway through. Okay, the other thing. This year, so he broke a finger late December of last year. This year, miraculously, maybe he had to get off the range a little bit. He's positive strokesing putting this year. He hasn't done that in a long time. And he's positive in 9 of his last 12 rounds. Again, this won't include Byron Nelson, which we don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but very positive. And then 5 majors. His last 5 majors, he has 3 top 25s, including a T6 at the 2018 PGA. So he can compete with the best of them when his whole game is clicking. He's the Belgian bomber. Mm-hmm. We know he can push it out. He's been practicing on his past Palom. His putting is kind of getting there a little bit, but he is, like Craig said, he's one of these guys. He's a tee to green guy, and he needs that, once in every 6 months putting performance. But things are looking really good for Pieters.
I really like it.
Yeah, I do too. You've kind of convinced me a little bit there.
So I just to dig into it a little bit more, I think, if you're looking at sleepers, you need someone who has the tee to green game, and he does. So we've seen him. He's been a top, tied for 4th at the Masters before. Of course, it demands length. He's tied for 6th at the 2018 PGA Championship. He was tied for 23rd at the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. When he actually, I think he ended up putting very poorly there.
He was great tee to green.
He was great tee to green. So that is the other avenue. I think we saw it. It's the Keegan Bradley model. Maybe these people who are great tee to green, and they have that week where they really go out there and they have a good putting week. And so maybe he's been practicing these past Palom. I like it. I like the narrative.
I'm cherry picking stats a little bit in this show. You guys can see that already, but hey, I'm building this narrative. I'm living in my own little world. If it works out, great.
Well, he's definitely has the most major success of any of the people we've taken as sleepers.
100%, yeah.
There's something to be said too. The PGA Championship has a bit of a history of having some winners that are a little bit out there. So, it might just be his week. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Okay, so we talk some fades.
Yes.
Okay, Kevin, I don't think you've gone first. Let's go with your fade first.
I'm excited to talk about this one. My fade this week, the guy who will probably get more media attention than Colin Morikawa, is Bryson DeChambeau. I do not like Bryson this week, despite him being, he's
14 to 1.
So tie for the 3rd favorite, according to the books. Bryson's, I feel like Bryson doesn't, he is always the story these days, with rightfully so. He doesn't have the best major record. He's only got 2 top 10s in 18 major starts. Now, granted, 2 of those 2 top 10s are in his last 4 starts. So, you know, the sample
and one of them was a fairly dominant win.
Was a win. The Hulk Bryson has, you know, he's 2 for 5 or 6, I believe. So in top 10s.
Just real quick, the Hulk Bryson has trimmed down a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Smartly, I think.
I don't think Bryson plays the best in the wind. I don't think his history. I was trying to dig into it more. Most of his wins have come on in fairly calm conditions. I think and it makes sense to me that the way he hits moon balls, like these guys say. Those are more susceptible.
It's all about that apex.
You know, they're more susceptible to being caught in the wind. I think wind is a huge factor this week, or next week. I think that he's been showing a little bit lately of having those blow up holes. I think at Kiawah, those are very much on the table. And for a guy who's 166th in driving accuracy on tour, despite his distance, which obviously is an advantage, I think driving accuracy will play a factor this week, and he's not going to get away with some of those curveballs. So I'm fading Bryson.
That's a bold fade.
It is a bold fade. I like it for a lot of the reasons you said. The only thing I don't like about it is length and putting. Like, he's very good at both of those, and those can add up really quickly.
He's a very, very good player. I just don't think this is a great course fit necessarily, and I do think the wind is going to be a factor. I also, Bryson, he seems to kind of spiral sometimes when things aren't necessarily
that's
going
what I
his
was
way.
going to say.
And I think this is going to be a bit of a grind. So I don't know that it really favors him.
Now, maybe it's less. I think it's less, in my opinion, spiraling, and I think it's more he just plays a very, very high variance style of golf. So he probably, I would say, so in terms of a fade, like, I'm not fading him personally, but I would give him much less top 10 equity than a John Rahm or whatever. But like, in terms of who's going to win, then I'd have them pretty close. But like, I feel like with Bryson, it's either, if he's not going to win, then it's like, okay, maybe like 30th or 40th. It's not like some of these guys, when they're in form, that you don't see them finishing outside the top 10. And that's just never how I'm going to feel with Bryson. He introduces variance into the golf game.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, Craig, who's your fave?
So I'm not sure if you guys are going to let me get away with this one, but he is attracting, I think, quite a bit of attention from people. So I think it's fair. I'm going with 2-time PGA champion Brooks Koepka. Okay. So I mean, we've got him at 22-1. I think there's a lot of people who are hoping that he is not having a great week this week because they want the odds to get longer, because he is someone that comes out and wins major championships. I jumped on the bandwagon at the Masters. I was like, I think he's not as hurt as he is playing it up to be. I think he is hurt. I think I think that if it was potentially a different course where, so what Brooks does well, I think, is at times he can be overpowering. And this course is going to be the kind of course where you are going, if that's how you're going to play, you need to be physically there. And the longest course in major history, Brooks, I think, was it the second longest that he has the win at? Was that the case, Adam?
That page?
I think
Aaron
so.
Hills.
Yep.
Oh, Aaron Hills.
But that's not the same Brooks who's going to be showing up. So I could be eating my words because it's not the same Brooks that's going to be showing up. You're confused about that, or?
No,
I thought Aaron
so
Hills
Brooks
was a U.S. Open.
Oh yeah, sorry, but just major championships.
Majors.
Okay.
Major. But so Brooks is the type of person who could come out as the hurt golfer and make me look silly with a win, but I'm not going to get there myself. I'm going to stay far away from Brooks.
So my reaction to that was because I think Brooks is an obvious fade. So I 100% agree with what you're saying, and I will be fading Brooks as well.
Yeah, I think he is a fade, but again, he wouldn't surprise me if he does compete better than we expect him to. But I think his 22-1 odds in the books makes him, the 6th, 7th highest golfer. That does seem a little bit crazy.
It's too short. It's too short to me.
It is too short. Yeah,
it's way too short, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that leads to my fade, and I got a lot of heat at the Masters when I picked a guy in the top 10 in the world, Tyrrell Hatton. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to get a lot of heat, so I gotta go higher. Who is the highest guy that I'm willing to fade?
And that's what I did too, Adam. So
I was almost willing to fade
technique.
the number one here, but I don't want to.
So my fade is the same odds given right now as Kevin's, 14-1. I'm going with Justin Thomas. And I'm going with Justin Thomas. Yes, he is the best approach player in the world. I 100% agree. I like Justin Thomas. I think he's a fantastic player, but the putting is an issue. Over his last 19 rounds, he has lost strokes gained putting in 12 rounds, and that includes his Players Championship win. So that he got a win even despite this. 63% of his rounds he's putting worse than average, worse than the field. He's negative in 63% of his last 19 rounds. And we saw it again recently with the Wells Fargo. So I just think,
what was his finish at the Wells Fargo?
I'll look it up here.
Anyway, I think he almost too much has to come right for him to win, and he's too short. He's priced too short, but it's also Justin Thomas, and he is, when everything does come right, he is one of, if not the best golfer in the world when everything's clicking.
Yeah, so he was 26 at the Wells Fargo. He has, since his Players Championship, he has not been inside the top 10. His best finish was tied for 13th at Valspar, where he led the tournament tee to green and basically trailed the tournament in putting. But I think too often with JT, we kind of give him the pass of like, oh, he had a bad week, but like, man, he was so good. Yeah, but like, it doesn't really matter till you get in the hole. Like, they count all those strokes the same. So I like the fade. I don't know. So like, DFS totally aside, I don't know if I'm going to get there or not yet as a fade myself. But I like it. I think I agree with it. I don't think it's the ideal course setup. I think that the putting is a huge question mark with him right now. So I like the fade.
So JT, you asked earlier some of the guys I was considering. I considered JT for my win and one and done this week. Now I didn't. Now that I found out I was fading him, I'm just so relieved. No, the reason I didn't was because of the putting. You'd like to see a guy kind of coming in with more of his weapons kind of firing, and it's a little bit scary. But JT is like on the top of his game tee to green, and I think that's going to be absolutely vital the next week at the Ocean Course, because I think the wind is going to play a huge factor, and the guys that can hit quality shots into greens, even though hopefully he can have an average putting week. Even I could see him having a top 10 with an average putting week because he's such a good ball striker
for sure. And if this Paspalum grass is as sticky as we are led to believe, the better approach player you are, the closer you can just stick it, and the shorter putts he will have compared to everyone else in the field.
So ultimately, me going away from him was because I don't know that the putting's all the way there, and I don't, when I pick to win and pick to one and done, I'm picking for the win. I'm not picking for a top 10. So, that's what led me away from him, but I could see him doing well. I totally understand what you're saying too, but I'm of the mind that this next week is going to be a big ball strikers kind of week. So we'll see.
Okay, so our last category here, and I think we're still going ahead with it, even though it might be a quicker one, but top Canadian. And you know what? I let you guys go first for a couple of these categories. I'm going to go first here. I'm going top Canadian. I'm going Corey Connors. I know. Craig talks a lot about this on our DFS shows, but strokes gained total ranks in the top 150 golfers in the world. Corey Connors ranks over the past 3 months 11th. Over the past 6 months, he's 8th in the world. Over the past 12 months, he's 19th. So his putting has improved a little bit, but even if we look at the past year, he's in the top 20 strokes gained total of all the best players in the planet. So Corey Connors is my top Canadian for the PGA Championship.
Yeah, I'll go next. I'm seconding it. I'm also on Connors. I think, I don't even know really. We've got Hughes. Yeah,
I didn't actually.
Corey Connors' game is in such a good place right now that I honestly didn't even consider taking anyone else. And unfortunately, it's made the top Canadian category a bit of a snoozer of recent. But I'm on Connors. His tee to green game is awesome. His putter has been better ever since he made the switch to cross-handed. So
there's only one person on the PGA Tour that has more top 10 finishes than Corey Connors this year, and it's John Rahm.
I was going to say it's John.
Wow.
He's second with 7 top 10s. He's playing as well as anybody, tee to green. Like I was saying, I think it's going to be a ball striker's week. I am 100% in the Corey Connors top Canadian.
I thought it might be a clean sweep there. I thought it might be. It's a quick one for top Canadian.
So that was obvious, but now we're going to get interesting, right?
Now we get interesting. It's bold prediction time. I love this. Okay, Craig, do you want to start us off?
I want to start.
Okay.
Oh, he's jumping at the bit. Okay,
Yeah,
Kevin.
I want to start. I've kind of alluded to it a little bit already. If you guys don't think this is bold enough, I have it penciled down here. I think that Bryson DeChambeau will finish outside the top 30.
I don't think that's bold enough.
40. Where do I have to go?
Miss cut or nothing. What do you
bold
think,
enough?
Craig? I don't know if that's bold enough. That's
Craig at the Masters only had to go outside the top 10.
No, didn't I have to? Then I said he'd miss the cut.
but then he
No,
missed
he
the cut.
did miss the cut.
Oh.
but he might only-
No, I'll take top 30. I think that's bold enough for me. It's the he's the tied for the third favorite. It's the longest major in history. He's leading the tour in driving. People are saying that he's breaking the game with his driving. I think that's bold enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I think he'll be in the top 30, so I'll take it.
All right.
It's a bold prediction.
I mean, I guess that's the thing is like, would you take the even odds the other way?
I would take the top 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, Craig. Bold prediction.
okay, I've got a good one here. So we're
thanks.
gonna play a little bit of a guessing game. We're gonna play a little bit of a guessing game. So there's a player out there who has 6 top 3s in his last 13 starts.
6 top 3s in those last 13 starts, and you want us to name them?
Yeah.
Tony Finau.
Well, he might as well, but that's not the player that I'm thinking of.
Does he have any wins in there?
He has 1 win.
I have another guess of Kevin.
Kev, you get a guess.
Yeah, I'm giving him 5 seconds, or else I'm guessing because I know it.
Go Adam.
Hovland.
It is Victor
Nice.
Hovland.
Nice.
Yeah.
He is, some would say, a Paspalum expert. He has
Same
2
with me
career
now.
wins. Puerto Rico, Paspalum,
baby.
and Mayakoba, Paspalum. So I can't, I've already committed to Rory for the win. So we've got 6 top 3s in his last 13 starts. I'm going to say Victor Hovland gets a top 3 finish
Wow.
at the PGA Championship.
I like it. I love it, actually. I love it.
I love it as well.
Ball striker's course, I would say arguably, you could say he's the best ball striker in the world right now, and it wouldn't be too far off.
Yeah, he was no longer available in my one and done. He was somebody I would have for sure considered this week.
Yeah, he is someone who, once we get to DFS things, sometimes I do crazy things like put 80% on people. We'll see.
I was just thinking DFS. I think I'm going to hammer a little bit of Hovland coming up here. Okay, my time for bold prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting the weird. You guys know I like to dive into some stats and get some weird things here. So I am saying it's the longest major championship. That's all we hear. It's so long, 7,800 yards. I'm saying at least 4 golfers in the top 10 will be below the tour average in driving distance.
4 in the top 10.
Of the top 10 will be below the average. So the average is 295.5, aka Roger Sloan, who is exactly average. He is the cutoff. And 114 golfers are above that number. I'm going to say that 40% of the top 10. And it'll be tricky when we get top 10 and ties. I know that. So give me a little bit of wiggle room here. But
I'm taking the ties. If he's tied for 3rd, I'm taking the ties.
So I'm saying like roughly 35 to 40% of the top 10 will be under that number.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up some names for you here.
So are we saying on the season there's somebody who falls under that
Yes. So exactly. So not on the tournament, but on the season, they're under that average. Pre Byron Nelson.
So let me rattle off some names for you. We've got Denny McCarthy, Joel Damon, Corey Connors. There's maybe one of yours.
There's one of them.
We got Billy Horschel.
Okay, there's like
Colin
200 golfers.
Morikawa. I'm just trying to find the headline. Webb Simpson.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not super deep. Mark
Colin
Leishman,
Morikawa.
maybe. Well, Mark Leishman, Abe Answer.
Matt Fitzpatrick is down there.
Yeah.
Patrick Reed is down there.
I mean, I like it. It's bold, but I think that there's. I think
Christian Bezuidenhout.
You could see it happening.
I just think that it might be a little bit
It's a tough one. It is a tough one. I'm looking through these names there. Basically, those guys that we were naming have to be the ones that get top 10s for you.
And I probably
Wait a second. You're talking about below 295 in driving distance?
Yeah.
There's like multiple top players in the world in that category. Like Patrick Reed,
there's
Colin
way more
Morikawa,
multiples above that.
Corey Connors.
But he's eliminating a lot more of the top players in the world.
Yeah, there's also Brendan Todd and Vaughn Taylor and Brian Stewart and Ryan Armour, but like I'm hoping those other guys hit.
Matthew Fitzpatrick has been playing well.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got
I like it. It's bold. Four of the top 10. I like that.
Basically, my thought was everyone's gonna go distance. Why? How do I be a little bit bold?
I mean, it would have been bolder to say 5, but
I was thinking 5, and after I read the list, I went down to 4. I went down to 4. So, yeah, that's my.
I mean, I would say like with 5, I'd probably give you 10 in ties, but not. I mean, if it's 4, then you're just gonna have to get the outright. I don't think you get the ties then.
Okay, guys, let's dive a little bit into the course. So we're at Kiawah Island Ocean Course. We've talked about it a little bit. We saw it for the 2012 PGA Championship, which Rory won. We've talked about the 1991 Ryder Cup, a couple other big tournaments, but this is the first time we're going to see it. We've seen it in a while. I kind of want to put it out there for something for our viewers, for our listeners. Give them something, a fun tidbit or something to know about the course kind of going in that's going to prep them for their viewing experience for the PGA Championship. Who wants to go first here? Or do you want me to start talking?
I don't mind going first. So I think that wind is going to be a huge factor. So obviously, I mean, that's pretty obvious to say on ocean courses. I sure hope that we get wind because I think that's where the course shows its teeth. I think without wind, it's a little bit benign. But this course is literally shaped by wind. It's constantly evolving because it's a sand course, it's a dune kind of course, and the wind is always sweeping the sand and kind of reshaping it slightly, constantly. With the wind, there's definitely holes that will play downwind and into the wind, and I think that certain ball flights are preferable, obviously, when you're going into the wind, and that's what Craig was, or one of you guys was talking about. A right to left ball flight tends to pierce the wind better. Guys that we were talking about it in our last podcast, but the left to right ball flight is one that guys are going to more off the tee, and we'll have to see how that plays with the wind because that tends to get more hung up in the wind. I don't see Dustin Johnson going away from his baby cut that he always plays. So, these guys are good enough. I get into a headwind with I'm calling it a fade. It's bordering on a slice. It gets caught up in that wind and it is getting pushed so far right and knocked down. It's not even funny. These guys obviously can pierce the wind with their ball flights, but it's going to play a major factor. The holes coming in tend to play into the wind and they are beasts the last few holes. I hope that we see that
second last one's a real beast, isn't it? That's
it's a beast. 3. It's a beast. Yeah. There's super, like the 91 Ryder Cup was a legend. The War on the Shore. It came down to the last hole, last match. That the wind was menacing that final day and guys struggled mightily in it. And, we could only be so lucky as to get something that was, that dramatic, but it will definitely have an impact on the tournament if it blows. It is a the course's main defense, I think.
Yeah.
And it's the main reason that I am saying that the ball strikers are why that's so important, because you do not get away with mishits when wind is involved. They will blow it. If you're going into a headwind and you miss hit a ball, it's getting blown way off line,
Right.
and you're going to pay for that miss. Whereas if, you know, guys that can consistently get their balls started on the trajectory and lines that they want to, they're going to reap the benefits, I think. So I'm really, really hoping for wind, and that's something that I think this course can deliver. The one thing I sorry to go on here, but the
second thing, the other thing,
I'm really technology has changed a lot since 2012. I'm curious to see how that plays.
I still have the same phone, I think, but
I'm curious to see how that plays into the wind and the length of this course. That's the only other thing I'll say about that.
Yeah, they have made it longer, so maybe any increase in distance would be offset by how much they've made it longer. But the word you were looking for is aeolian transportation. That is the as sand dunes, when the wind is shaping landforms through transport of sand. It's called aeolian transportation.
Obviously, Craig, we all know that.
Yeah. Come on.
No, anything on the wind, Adam? I think
Yeah,
Kevin
I got a question for
it.
Kevin. Have you looked at a forecast yet?
No, I don't believe in forecasts this far out.
Okay, so we're a week away from the start. I am telling you, I'm looking at this forecast now. I'm on windfinder.com for Surf Song Kiawah Island, and it looks a little bit of gusts on Wednesday and Thursday, and then it is calm. It's a nice day at the beach out there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
We can't forecast wind that far out. Let's pump the brakes.
We can't, and I also think, like, even when you see a forecast, it could just come out of nowhere when you're right on the ocean like that. But I kind of want to see a bloodbath out there.
I don't want to see a bloodbath. I want it to be like a good test. But I think the best way for this to be a good test is to have some wind.
Yeah. I completely agree with that statement. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go into mine because I think it segues into Craig's a little bit. But I'm going to talk about paspalum grass because this whole course is paspalum grass. What is paspalum grass? It's a straight up, super resilient, very salt tolerant grass that makes it very popular recently with resort and seaside golf courses. It also
do you sell paspalum grass?
Yeah, a little bit on the side. Do you want some paspalum?
I thought you were going to say, no, this stuff sells itself.
Damn. Shoot.
I am in a bit of an ocean environment here. I'm interested.
That's true. So we've kind of touched about it, like courses that use it. Mayakoba, Puerto Rico, European Tour. What uses it? Qatar, Saudi International, Oman Open. So those kind of Middle East, Puerto Rico island courses, a lot in Asia as well. But how does it play? And this is a quote from Rory back in 2012. He says it doesn't really roll out. You can't play it on the ground. You need to be aggressive with the chip shots. They kind of just stop. You can be very aggressive and it just stops. And with that, kind of what I said before, what other courses have that? Bears Club in Jupiter, Florida, with Rory as a member, Dustin Johnson as a member, Keegan Bradley as a member, Shane Lowry as a member. So Tony Finau is one in Puerto Rico, Hovland's one in Puerto Rico. I think that's something that, you don't put a lot of weight into it, but could definitely be a little bit of story here. It's not going to, with the distance this long, it's not going to just roll out. You got to play it a little bit in the air, I think.
Yeah. Rumor has it is JT not a member at the Bears Club?
I saw a picture of him there, but I couldn't confirm if he was a member or not. So I just don't know if he got invited by Rory one day.
You stand by your fate.
I stand by my fate, yeah.
So the only thing I was going to say, I think you kind of walked all over it there, but it is what it is. It's not, so it really looks like a links style course because it's next to the ocean. It's wind swept. It has that sort of undulating look to it, like a links style course. But it would be a mistake to call it that. This is what I keep reading, I keep seeing, I keep hearing. Because link style is, like Adam is saying, link style, you want to be playing the ball on the ground. You're thinking hard and fast, and if you're trying to land that on the green, you're making a mistake because it's going to go through the green. So this is actually it's much stickier. You're not going to be playing the ball on the ground into, rolling it into greens, that type of thing. So even though it may have visually appear like it is a link style, we're talking semi-tropical here, so it's a very different style of play. I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
as a side note, I think that Justin Thomas is a member at Medalist with Tiger and Ricky and all the other boys.
Right. Okay.
There's a few golf courses, I think, in the Jupiter, Florida area.
Yeah, I think
he may be able to afford more than one membership.
Wow, man, what a life that guy must be living. Okay, I think we want to jump into a few more of the favorites, kind of on the betting board here. But why don't we, quickly recap what our pencil picks look like. So my pick to win and one and done is Dustin Johnson. My sleeper is Thomas Peters, and my fade was Justin Thomas. Craig?
So sorry, pick to win is Rory. Sleepers, Joaquin Neiman. Fade is Brooks. Canadian, we all have Connors, yeah.
Yeah. Kevin?
And my pick to win is Rory. My sleeper is Max Homa. And my fade is Bryson DeChambeau.
So a couple of guys, I feel like we talked about Rahm already.
I don't know if we really did talk about Rahm.
I love Rahm. What's not to like about Rahm? I feel like he can do everything. I feel like this is a great setting for his first win. His college course, practice course, was also designed by Pete Dye in Arizona State University.
He said that he really likes Pete Dye courses. I do think form is a bit of an issue with Rahm. Rahm was on an absolute tear there for a while. We just saw him miss his first cut in 22 events, I think it was. And he's not off to the best start at the Byron Nelson. But I think he added this late. I think after missing he kind of just assumed he was going to get four competitive rounds at Quail Hollow. And then after that was not the case, he decided to add the Byron Nelson. So get 2 straight missed cuts would be a little bit of a concern. That said, I love Rahm. I think he's probably should have the shortest odds of anyone in the world at almost any course right now.
Yeah.
He can win anywhere.
Yeah. Xander Schauffele, Craig, you kind of mentioned a little bit. It's 18-1 right now.
So just before you get to Xander,
we're cruising past some people here.
Oh, I miss Spieth.
Yeah, Spieth. So Spieth is going for the
so when someone, I think Adam was saying maybe Rory's going to be the most press. Kevin was saying Bryson. I think Spieth is going to have far and away the most press,
especially if he wins this week.
Especially if he closes. So he's he's tied for first at the end of the first round when we're recording this. I think the Spieth narrative of him potentially closing out the career Grand Slam, I think that's going to have tons of legs here now that he's coming in form. I don't think it's a great fit for him, but the other thing we saw when we were looking at the longest previous major championships, one of them was Chambers Bay, which
not won by DJ.
Was not won by Dustin Johnson, who was hitting it further than anyone in the world that year. It was won by Jordan Spieth, who was not hitting it very far.
However, Jordan Spieth was at the pinnacle of his powers at that point. So,
but would you say he's too far out? Like if he does close out with
a
win,
I wouldn't, and I wouldn't put it past him. I
don't
think it's a great fit, like you say.
Yeah,
I think Spieth would benefit from higher wins. I honestly kind of think
the messier it gets.
Yeah, exactly. He would kind of
it bummed me out so much. He said it was calm. It might be calm.
It's a week out. Who knows what's going to happen?
We don't need to let any negativity come. We still could get a howling course.
That's what I want to see.
Xander, 18-1.
Yeah, I like him. Craig brought him up before as a almost pick. Again, we've talked about him so many times on the podcast. We all like him. He's got the complete game. He can get it done. He just needs to put it all together and do it.
Yeah, he was on a tear there for a while. Bottom half of the field of the WGC, missed the cut at the Players, didn't make it out of his round in the match play. We saw it at third place at the Masters. Would have liked to see something else happen there on 16, but that was what it was. And then Wells Fargo, he was tied for 14th. Never really relevant there. It's hard to know. Like he's not in bad form, but it's not really like he was scorching hot form there for a while. So I'd love to see Xander come in here with a little.
It does surprise me that he's like priced 6th though, a little bit. Like that seems high.
That's high. He usually enters these.
I know, and like he does very well in majors, but I feel like there's a couple of guys. Maybe it's just like my rose-colored glasses with Hovland. Morikawa is a defending champ.
Xander's fifth in the world too, right?
Yeah. I don't think I would have anyone else above. Maybe Hovland would be the only person I would, and even still, it would just be on par. I'd have a hard time putting anyone else above Xander.
And even what you're talking about, like, he missed the cut at the Players, like, and then tie for 18th, tie for 3rd, tie for 14th. We're talking about top 20s, top 5s. Like,
I would potentially have Xander third in this field, behind Rory and Rahm.
I'm not saying that I think he's out of form or anything. I'm just saying it's like there's guys I think again, maybe I don't know if this is a major experience, like getting that one major. I feel like it kind of domino effects a little bit. He does very well at majors. He does very well in no cut events. He does very well at East Lake, and that can do a lot of good things for your official world golf ranking. But he doesn't have a major win.
You're talking so negatively about Xander Schauffele.
I just can't believe you're slagging him so bad.
You're saying he
does, but you're saying he does very well at majors.
I know. I love Xander. There's got to be a different point of view on this podcast. Give me a break. Come on. Let's move on. We talked about Brooks. Let's talk about defending champion Morikawa.
Not getting a ton of attention right now, no. I would say.
I think it's tough to defend.
I don't love the fit, personally.
It's a little bit, I faded JT. Morikawa, I think, is in the very similar camp. Putting question marks, one of the best approach players, maybe right behind JT. So because of that, if he's JT light, maybe it's a fade for me as well.
So the thing I would say I struggle with Morikawa this week is that when I think about him and his strengths, I think about approach, but I think more specifically kind of inside 200 yards. And I think we're going to have a lot of the longer approaches are going to be relevant this week. He's not hitting it out. He's one of these guys who's going to be potentially one of your top 10s because he is below average in distance. So I don't think it's the best fit. You add the putting question marks to it. I'm pumping the brakes on Colin Morikawa personally.
Okay, so I think we've talked about everyone 25-1 or better. Why don't you guys just give me like one more, interesting guy in the 50 or 66 to
or inside 50 even maybe.
Inside 50. Give me someone that like kind of piques your interest a little bit. Intrigued you. Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go Cam Smith.
I knew Kevin was going there.
That's why I jumped out first. This is a guy from, grew up playing the sand belt down in Australia. Windy. I mean, we've seen him lately. He has all the tools. His game's in great shape. Why not?
Yeah.
How about you, Craig?
Well, just a little bit on Cam Smith first off, because that's the person I was going to say as well. You can't find the statistical basis to explain how Cam Smith does so well, and like especially at like long, difficult courses. Like it just doesn't really make sense. But then he goes out there and he drops 25 footers and saves a couple putts, a couple times around, and you're just like, man, this guy's just a magician. And yeah, like I forget which broadcast I was watching him on recently, where someone said basically they'd put his short game up against anyone in the world, and I think that's ultimately what does it. For me, is that long, difficult courses, you need that. We're not talking about courses where you're kicking in birdies. So the one that I don't think is a great fit, but I love his form coming in, Abe Answer, 45-1. He wasn't a good fit at Quail Hollow either. He led the tournament tee to green, got a second place there. It's just I really like his form. If it was a different course, I would really be pumping him, but it's just hard to do, I think, this week.
I want to talk about Tony Finau at 35-1. 3 missed cuts in his last 5 events. But, I mean, remember early in this year when he went 4, second? I mean, we talk about these guys, how quickly they can flip a switch. I think Finau is one of those. That next win is coming soon. That major is coming soon. It could come next week. Wow, that was a lot of silence over there. I'm sorry for the podcast only listeners.
Couple other
don't know.
guys. I don't really have anything to add on Finau. I would love to see it as a fan. I just have
Me
a hard
too.
time. I have a hard time seeing it.
He's one of my boys. He's somebody I kind of keep my eye on. He hasn't been playing great, you know. I hope he can turn it around and put up a good showing, but I'm not going to be banking on it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay, two other guys I think need to be mentioned. Really good form, aside from what happened today. Matt Fitzpatrick, 50-1. He has been playing very good golf. He has very good results of recent. And then, let's be serious, Louis Oosthuizen is going to be relevant. It's a major. The guy is just such, smooth swinging Louis Oosthuizen. I got to bring him up.
I believe
Yeah, I think that's fair.
he was relevant in the 2012 rendition.
Where isn't he relevant?
What's that? Anyway, I don't
Other,
have
other
up
guys
his
up
finish,
there.
but
Ian
was on the
Poulter was up
leaderboard.
there, and Justin Rose were up there, I think, in top 10s, along with Keegan Bradley, I believe. In
Yes.
2012, Louis Oosthuizen.
He was 21, tied for 21. I think he was relevant earlier in the tournament, though, at some point. I do feel like I remember seeing him on the leaderboard.
Well, in the interest of time, let's not dive into a full A to Z player guide. I think we should call it there, guys. That was our preview, our picks, our bowl predictions. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for watching if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on podcast, make sure to rate and review. Even if you're watching on YouTube, download it on your podcast. Then rate it, then review it. That means a lot to us. All that does really mean a lot. Subscribe on YouTube if you've not already subscribed. Hit that thumbs up. Follow us on Twitter. We're going to push out a ton of content for the PGA Championship. At Grandstand Golf is our handle. If these picks change, we're not going to do another podcast to let you know about it. We're going to do it on Twitter. So make sure to follow us there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Yep, take care, guys. We're looking forward to a good week here.